Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. You missed the chance of guessing what sort of addiction exists. So your previous colleagues in the first class, they actually told me about type of addiction. You could be addict to drugs, could be addict to alcohol, could be addict to gambling, addict to shopping, addict to video game, addict to food, addict to smoking, addict to fasting and praying, addict, tele-addict. So, do you want to add any addiction to these? Do you have in mind any more you could be addict to? Going outside in? Yeah, sport could go to the addiction that some people sometimes become ill because of like a lot of massive, extreme bodybuilding, right? Or people who could be so addicted to sports, become like dangerous, they might die, scuba diving, or they could go on snow sliding, Yeah? Yeah, workaholic, they call them. So they could put them under the same one, workaholic. Yeah, workaholic. A lot of them actually end having broken marriages. They lose control of their children. They might physically become ill. He doesn't sleep enough. He doesn't eat enough. He eats junk food because he wants quick takeaway. Yeah. What else could be addicted to? Yeah. Try to remember along the way. Now, why addiction is actually addressed in Islam, even the same addiction, like addict to fasting and praying. Salman Abu Darda was a friend to Salman al-Farisi. The Prophet ﷺ made them brothers when he came to Medina. Salman was in Medina, and Abu Darda came to Medina. So Salman noticed that the wife of Abu Darda neglecting herself. She's not actually taking care of herself and doesn't mind how she appears. Most ladies actually do look into the mirror before they leave home. And they look into their dress and things. So he asked her. And she said, oh, your brother Abu Darda is not interested in dunya anymore. He is fasting during the day and every day. And he is praying during the night and every night. So he went to Abu Darda. He said, can I be invited to your house for a couple of days? He said, yes, come. So he went, and his wife made, Darda made food and brought the food to Abu Darda, to Salman. And he said to Abu Darda, are you not eating? He said, no, I'm fasting. He said, no, you must eat. Outside Ramadan, yes, you are allowed to eat for the sake of your friend visiting you or you're visiting him. He insisted on him. He sat and ate. And they went in the evening to sleep. And Salman went to the bed, and Abu Darda, Allahu Akbar, said, no, carry on praying. You have to sleep with me. And insisted. He slept. He woke him up before Fajr, an hour before Fajr. They prayed, and then at Fajr went to the mosque to pray. So Abu Darda went and complained to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because Salman said to him, you can't do things in extreme, because your Lord have rights from you, your body have rights from you, you need to rest and things, and not to fast every day, exhaust yourself, and your family have rights from you, your eyes have rights from you, and your friends have rights from you, and give each one his right. So he went and complained to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Sadaqa Salman. Sadaqa Salman. Salman was right in saying to you, can't take this to the extreme. So, 3 of the Sahaba, they thought, oh, we can't catch up with the Prophet ﷺ. So what can we do to be like, a bit closer to what he's doing? Because he's doing so much. And one of them said, I will fast every day, all my life. The second one, he said, I will pray all the night, every night. And the third one said, I will never marry women, I will be devoted to Allah. I don't want to worry about a wife and children, this and this. So the Prophet ﷺ heard about them, and he called them. He said, is that true that I heard this from you, about you? They said, yes. He said, please take me. I fast and break the fast. I pray at night and I sleep. And I marry women. And whoever shy away from my sunnah is not one of me. So, the Prophet ﷺ teaching us addiction could be even in religion and is not accepted. So don't take things to the extreme, even if you are actually praying or fasting. So, like workaholic, as I said, could be tame. You're making money, but you're making money on the expense of your family, your social life, voluntary work, your health. And sometimes when you work too much, you might make more mistakes. When I was started medical school, when I finished medical school in Syria, we used to go to work on Saturday morning, where Friday is the day off in Syria, and come home Friday morning. So we used to work in the hospital every day and night, 6 days. Day and night, always in the hospital for 6 days. When I came to Britain, you do on call one night every 6 weeks, depends how many doctors there, and one weekend every 6 weekends. But the weekend, we used to start Friday morning, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, Monday, we go home 5 o'clock on Monday. So we start Friday 9 o'clock, we go home Monday 5 o'clock. And that went for years until some clever junior doctors, they opposed it. They said, no way we're going to carry on like this. We become very exhausted, we start making mistakes, and people die because of overworking. And to make the general public understand it, they went to St. Mary Hospital in London, and they put tents in the front entrance, and they stayed in the tent from Monday morning, from Friday morning, till Monday 5 o'clock. And they said, this is the hours we work. And the whole system changed. The whole system. And then they said, there's no way you can work more than 16 hours together or 24 hours. And it's quite a system now. And they chopped that. And if you work at night, you take the day off and things. You have less exposure to experience, but safer for patients. But when I was junior doctor, I was going to hospital in Syria from Saturday morning and come back home Friday morning. And when I came to this country, I did many of my own calls. Used to go to work on Friday morning. Friday till 5 o'clock is normal working day. But the duty starts from 5 o'clock on Friday, carry on till Monday morning, then back to normal duty on Monday, which is how many hours? 24, 48, 72 hours, plus 8 hours, 80 hours in one stretch. That's risk to people, to the doctor, to the patient, and they abandoned it. And towards the end of my work, I even dropped the on-call. I said, I don't want to do on-call. Because they gave us the right to get out of the rota, because it was like European community law, whatever. So even if it's work, could be extreme. But if you come to Islam, there's things which from the start it's haram. Because no matter how much alcohol you drink, you will become one of these. Either you become alcoholic, total alcoholic. You always have to drink. Those who drink alcohol, either they drink small amounts every day, they can't be without it, or they drink till they become drunk, or they drink regularly certain amount. So all of them, they cannot stop drinking. They might simply say, oh, I only drink a couple of glasses, but can you stay without it? Or he drinks till he is drunk. Or he drinks regularly, every other day or something. And when they drink, 1.5% become total alcoholic, can't even work. They have so much dependence on alcohol. and they start showing problems with alcohol, might become demented, they might have heart attack, might have liver disease, they might have all sorts of other problems, or they might get themselves depressed, psychotic, paranoid, all sorts of things. 54% of them have family problem. They might not be a total alcoholic, but they have alcohol dependence. And that's caused them to have fights in the home, the wife, the children, end in separation or divorce or something. And 51% of them get social problems. They might not be able to behave socially correctly, might end into a fight in the pub or shouting or disinhibited and make mess out of himself. And 50% have problem with work. And this number is actually 30% of the community. These are 30%.
That's a lot.
Yeah. This is why a lot of people lose jobs and lose marriage and lose relationship and things. So, but there's no official help to them. In Islam, just cross it off. There's no way. You can't even touch it. The Prophet ﷺ said, if I allow you to drink it like this, you will drink it like this. If I allow you to drink it like this, you will drink it like this. If I allow you to drink it like this, you will drink it like this. So not a drop, not a drop. And the Prophet ﷺ said, whatever make you drunk in large quantity, small quantity haram. So the drop become haram, because large quantity of it become drunk. Some people say, oh, the alcohol in this beer is very, very low. But if you drink large quantity of it, you become drunk or not? Yes, so it's haram. Naam.
What about like little drugs, like you take for medicine? Is that haram?
Allah Azza wa Jal said, the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah didn't make a cure in anything He made haram. So at the time of the Sahaba and Tabi'in, they used to use alcohol to make you numb and or unconscious to do the operation if they want to amputate a leg or an arm or something. So they came to Anas bin Malik. He said, no way, I'm not going to take alcohol. We went to operate because he had gangrene in his leg. He said, no. What I will ask you to do, I will go into tasbih and zikr, into remembering Allah Azza wa Jal, until I'm really taken into the zikr. Then you cut my leg. And he didn't feel. Al-Hasan ibn Ali radiallahu anhu, grandson of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was praying. And a big rock dropped from the mountain and just passed him. They were calling, Al-Hasan, be careful. He didn't hear them. And he finished salah. I said, oh, Hassan, Allah saved you. I said, from what? From a rock. He didn't even feel the rock passing him, because he was so taken in his prayer. So in Islam, that's no start. And the drugs and alcohol and here gambling and the video games causes some of these. Either people become self-harm, as known alcoholic and drug addicts, many of them very famous, very rich, like Michael Jackson and similar, became drug addicts and died with the drug, or drink a lot of alcohol and they died from the alcohol cirrhosis and things. But many of them actually hidden because they have these social problems. They're not addressing it as a problem of alcohol or drugs. It causes self-harm. Many people, they reach a stage they are very depressed or very anxious, or they have severe withdrawal symptoms. Sometimes they die accidentally. But they become aggressive, fighting, hitting things and breaking things. They could die in the middle of that. They could have mood swing. Actually, this guessed by your friends earlier, but you missed that guessing ability. So you might have become very moody, very anxious, very depressed, or very manic, high. People who are drug addicts, become very high, extremely high, and become elated and start make fool of themselves and could invade others and attack others. The problem also when they become psychotic. What psychotic means? They get psychosis. When they become mentally disturbed, they have paranoia, they have delusions. What delusions means? Paranoia.
They see things, it's scary.
Hallucinations, yeah. Delusions and hallucinations. Delusions, they have false belief. Like I had a patient became manic, not because of the drugs, but he became manic because of another illness. And he thought he wanted to put NASA correct, because NASA had been doing it wrong, and he wanted to go to America, and he went to the Pope to correct the Vatican. Became so manic, I have to put the word right. Or they go and commit some crime, or they go sometimes financially commit themselves to something they can't pay for. One of my patients in Lincoln, in the hospital, he went out of the hospital, came back with brand new Volvo Estate. He was so manic, he convinced that car dealer that he's super rich and he can afford to buy the car, and he gave him the car, drive away, back in 1985, 86. So he came to the wood. Then the staff straight away phoned the garage and said, look, this is one of our patients. He just took your car. But he was so convincing. He was, I'm the super rich, I'm this and that. So, but most of them make fool of themselves because they've become obviously very manic. Like this guy who wants to correct the Vatican, and the other guy who wants to put NASA correct and things. And delusions might give you false belief, like, oh, you are against me, aren't you? You're always against me. You always talk about me. You always want to harm me. You're this, you're that. And he's so convinced that people are against him. He's so convinced that spying on him. One of my patients, when they started the mobile phones, she came to me, everybody watching me. Yeah, I go to the high street and they start telling each other about me. Oh, she's going to that shop. And that guy talking to that guy. And that guy, nothing to do with her. People talking to their friends. But she was quite convinced. And sometimes act on it. The problems when they act on it. I was in the hospital giving a patient glucose because he had hypoglycemia. He will die. So I give him glucose slowly. And I had a hit in my back by one of the patients next door. So hard. It was really painful. Why did you do that? Oh, you're stealing him. I'm not stealing him. He woke up and semi-confused. Because sometimes you could have these problems when you just wake up or you're going to sleep. You might have hallucinations and things. So, but I had quite a bad, I had this hit 3 times, major hits in my medical life. One by this guy. Another one was alcoholic. And he's so paranoid. And I was stitching his head. He had a fight in the pub, and quite a big, and I was stitching him, and he started hitting me. Why are you hitting me? Because he thought I'm against him. I'm stitching you. But he's so disturbed mentally that he didn't see what I'm doing as helpful. So then I stopped. I said, look, I'm not going to carry on stitching. Behave yourself, get super, and come back. And the third one was mentally disturbed also. I was examining him, and he put his foot in my stomach. It was really painful. But he was paranoid. He was deluded. He thought I'm his enemy. I was in the court here in Surrey Hall. They closed the court now. They had LD in it. But it was a court. So I went to see a guy in the court, black guy, very tall. He must be to the ceiling here. It was me and the social worker and the GP, and we all small people. And he wouldn't talk. And he wouldn't sit down. So I'd be talking to him like this. And I kept asking him, because I'm the lead. I'm the psychiatrist and social worker helping and the GP. And he wouldn't talk, And suddenly he pointed at me, it's you! It's you! He is against us! It's you! Then we want to get out, because we're fine, we diagnose him, he's paranoid, he's this, But there's no handle to open the door. The door is actually, they close the door, there's no handle from inside, they need to open the door from outside. So for 5 minutes, till the prison or the cell officers came to open the door, we were at risk. So I was very gentle with him and tried to avoid steering him up until they opened the door. So paranoia is not an easy thing to deal with, and that could get you paranoid here, and gambling, but also video game. We have a presentation in Highland some months back now. They could become, unfortunately, if you stop them, win them, become very aggressive. They might hit you, hit the door, hit the window, hit the brother or sister or mom or dad, hit the car, hit the roof. Can you hit the roof? But if you have withdrawal symptoms, very dangerous. The withdrawal symptoms. When you are not having the drug, that's extremely difficult. And the same here. We actually give them drugs here to stop that. That could be killing, because he might damage property, he might damage himself, might damage others, might get themselves in trouble with the police, or with the neighbors, or with the school and things. And the same here. We give them, if they come with alcohol withdrawal, I load them with diazepam until they become very sleepy, and could be above the normal dose. I give them like 10 milligram every 2-3 hours or 4 hours, and they become really drowsy, and they might get out of it within a day or two. Or sometimes we give them on smaller dose, depends on the system we're following. But that's dangerous, and that has to be treated, and that could be life-threatening. Gambling the same, because they all occupy the same place in the brain. The same place in the temporal lobe. They occupy the same place, and subhanAllah, there's another gambling we didn't mention, another addiction we didn't mention, I've just remembered. Can you tell me what? Before I say it? It's pornography. Or sex addiction. Or deviated, or sometimes you could put the pedophile. Pedophile. How do you write it? Pedophile. That's to attack children. Become very, very dangerous. But this is actually widespread. There's many people go and see this naked women and men and things on them, and that's become addiction, and you can't stop it. And the problem is that they steal your money in no time. There's so much ways to steal your money. So that's also, you could mark a trade, because that could destroy a marriage, destroy a relationship. So these things, and the withdrawal also difficult. I went to see a guy in Shirley, an old guy. He's in 76 or something, 78. He's addict to this. And he phoned them, and they phoned him, and they keep taking his money. And then he was complaining, oh, they're against me. Who's against you? This on the telly. And he developed delusions, start believing that they are against him, they're talking about him, look at this. So that's addiction. You need to be. Shopping could be addiction. Shopaholic, you know. They go, they must buy. And I have seen myself in some of my relatives, you go and open the wardrobe, there's around 2,000 dresses there. It will take 10 years to go through from this end of the wardrobe to the other end. We went to Jordan. We took with us 2 suitcases full of clothing to donate to the Syrian refugees in Jordan. And the family we visited, they could have 20 suitcases like this in their wardrobes. They never dress it. They never wear it. It's become the fashion become too old, but they don't donate it. So they keep buying. I went to see a guy in Noel. He's shopaholic. He had 20 clocks. Why you need 20 clocks? That tell me that one is correct. That one tell me that one. So shopaholic. Shopaholic is actually dangerous to you, and they end sometimes shoplifting. They don't have the money, and they keep buying and taking back to the shop, buying it. And why you need 200 shoes, 200 pairs of shoes? I don't know about your moms. I know about my wife. But go and see how many pair of shoes each of your moms have, and probably see which one have the most. No, don't do that. But it could be they have this illness. But don't go to your mom. Mom, you have an illness. The mom said no. Don't face your mom or your dad. And some become shopaholic. They buy these cards. What's that? These cards they buy? Video games and cards and Pokemon cards. Become addicted to it. They buy for £50, £100, something, and some could be food addict, and that's really dangerous. There's one in Monk's Path. He becomes so obese. To take him to hospital, they had to remove the window and bring the crane and carry him through the window because too fat. He couldn't even go through any of his doors. He died in the hospital. But he was young. He was around 23 or 24. Sorry? You heard about him?
No.
If you search the news, yes, there's quite a few like this.
That surgery like to remove the fat or something.
You couldn't get him surgery to remove all of him. When you remove the fat, the picture becomes so ugly because you will have so much skin, folds of skins become more ugly.
You like cut that off and then like sew it together with skin.
You can't remove all the skin and things. It's not as easy as you thought.
You cut off the skin and then you sew the two skins.
It become even worse because the skin, it's not shining, it's not so waxy skin, become like an old skin stitch and then rips very easily. So but better actually not become overeaters, not to have addiction to eating. There's a program in the city called The Most Loser, who was the one who lost most weight in a period of time. And to prove to them they are lying, they put hidden cameras everywhere in the house, and they appointed the spies on them, go follow them and enter the restaurants, see what they eat. And many of them, even they eat without being conscious. Until you show them the video, they go and sneak to the fridge and eat. So that could be a problem because you are killing yourself in a way. Because you get heart attacks, you get overweight, you get fatty liver, you get ulcers, you get arthritis, you worn off your joints now.
Clogged arteries.
Yeah, the arteries will be, because the blood is not moving quickly, you get clots in the vein, in the legs, and this clot could go from the leg to the lung, block the lung, and he's dead. So there's a lot of dangerous consequences to abusing food. Although food, nobody say haram, it becomes haram when it is killing you. A lot of scholars had problem with smoking because nothing in the Quran and Sunnah haram the alcohol and the drugs which make you narcotic. You're not actually with it. You neglect yourself, you neglect your work, you neglect your family. When they came to smoking, they didn't find that people who smoke, they lose much. Until we came, the doctor told them that smoking kills. It will kill you by heart attacks, kill you by liver problems, kill you by brain problems, kill you by hypertension goes high. But the most difficult one is when they develop cancer. Because the smoking keeps changing the shape of the cells until it become cancer cells. When it becomes small cells like oat cell carcinoma, become very small cell, enter the bloodstream and go and sit in the liver, sit in the kidney, sit in the brain. So smoking, because it kills you, the smoking is haram. Allah said, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Do not kill yourself. إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِكُمْ رَحِيمًا. So Allah is merciful with you. So smoking. Fasting, we mentioned that. Workaholic is another one, which you friends didn't guess it. And also, tele-addict, they mentioned. Tele-addict. There's people who must see the program. There must be a lot of people last night, went into fits or whatever because Gary Lineker wasn't on the telly. Have you seen the Lineker? He was suspended, so all his friends refused to cooperate with the he said that the Home Secretary said that those who come illegally to Britain, they will not allow them to claim asylum seeker, and they will take them back to a country like Rwanda or whatever, and they will not allow them to seek any help, whatever. So he said this is indiscriminate. You're depriving people from their human rights, and you are acting like the Nazis in the 1930s. That's what upset them, to compare them to the Nazis. BBC said you should be impartial, you shouldn't lean to this side or that side, you should be politically neutral in the middle. And he said, no, this is free speech, freedom of speech, and I'm freelancing, I'm not employed by BBC, but I work for them. They give him 160,000 a month or something, I don't know. He's the highest paid person in BBC. And the argument started, so they suspended him on Friday. Match of the day, nobody wanted to do it. So there must be a lot of these who... I remember when my children were small, when it is match of the day, see, coming downstairs, Awada Maran and Talha, to see the match of the day. So there must be a lot of people had fits last night. I saw match of the day in the morning. It's just, any of you seen it?
I see it like every Sunday.
Yeah, but today, this morning, it was just nobody commenting on any move or any scores, but then they show you highlights from the games yesterday. So it was, you get bored and get annoyed. But anyway, could be telly addicts and people who cannot live without telly. Now, a lot of people cannot live with the mobile, without WhatsApp, without Instagram, without Twitter, without YouTube, without so much things on the mobile that there were a day when there were no lights in New York, and many people ended, oh, you're my wife, I've never seen you for a few months, because they're both either on the mobile or the telly addicts watching the telly. Or they had a fit because they can't watch the mobile. I have a video, probably I'll send it to you if I find it. Somebody who was, he woke up and couldn't find his mobile. It should be under the pillow. Oh, he jumped and up and down until he found his mobile. Calm down. And there's another video, probably I'll show it to you. They put teenagers in a room for 15 minutes without mobile, without telly. I kept jumping, walking up and down, from there to there, and can't settle. Why? Addiction. Addiction is easy to treat, surprising enough, when you are addict to drugs. Because you have drugs to give you. When you're addict to alcohol, you have drugs to give you. It's difficult to give you drug when you're gambling, unless we put you to sleep. Difficult to give you drug when you have video gaming, gambling or video game, not gambling, but you're watching a lot of video games or telly addict. Sport could be as well, take you to the extreme. A lot of people go to the extreme in sport, like bodybuilding, and they end having so much trouble with the rest of their joints and muscles and things. And there's a game in Japan when they become very, very, very fat and they fight each other. You heard about it? Sumo. Yeah, they put, but that will destroy their body. Find me anyone who's fat and he went beyond the 50 years old. They usually die very, very quickly. Nam. Yeah. So there's games, dangerous games like mountain climbing, like snow, snow sport and things. Many died, and car racing, even horse riding could be very very dangerous. One of my pharmacists in Solihull Hospital, she's married to a doctor actually, to a Muslim, sorry. She's married to a Muslim, and her daughter was 22 years old, was on a horse, fell, broke her neck and died. I never forgotten her. So I have, a GP, he used to be my GP, and his son died in, fond of cars and driving fast and things, whatever it is, and he died. He was in his 20s. And the GP became very depressed. I went to see him, and he's staring there. He can't concentrate. And then they took the surgery from him, and he died. So any extreme, you might be killing yourself, but you might be killing your family. Because families sometimes they can't stand losing a son or losing a daughter. I had a patient who lost her son, who was a policeman, but she never recovered. She kept trying to kill herself. So you might be addicted to something, and you might not be the one who dies. It might be his mom or his dad, or he might attack his own brother or sisters. He might get caught shoplifting. I went to see a lady who was a wife to a GP, and her GP died of heart attack young. So her income was quite fatty, and she goes shoplifting. Why you go shoplifting? I went to assess her, and she was quite depressed and lonely. Her son in another country and her daughter in a different country, and they keep asking her for money, like she's the bank for them. They're draining her, and they don't come to visit her, and she became very depressed, tried to kill herself. Why are you shoplifting? I said, oh, because I want to get to feel I'm important. Because everybody becomes very important, very interested in me and the staff, and they take me to the room, interrogate me, and then they bring the police, and the police take me to this police cell, and so many people talk to me. So I have life. She didn't have life if she wasn't shoplifting, because nobody knows about her. She's a widow living in her home. The home could be now 2 million. She's living in a posh area, really. So neither the big home or the fat money she gets made her better. So sometime you could be doing something and somebody else died. Yeah? So don't go to extreme in any of it. So obviously it's haram. Believe it or not, it's haram to pray all night every night. It's haram to fast every day, all day every day. You can't. You cannot even add it to this spending as well. Sa'id ibn Abi Waqqas was ill, and the Prophet ﷺ went to visit him, and he said, I think I'm dying. He didn't die eventually. But he said, I'm dying, I want to donate all my money to the poor. He said, have you got any children? He said, yes, I have daughters. He said, no, all your money is too much. He said, okay, I'll donate half my money. He said, no, it's too much. He said, okay, I'll donate a third of my money. The Prophet ﷺ said, a third, and it's still too much. So in Islam, it's haram to donate more than a third of your money. And he said to him, you better leave your children financially sound and, supported, than leaving them to beg people for money, become dependent on the community. Now, Islam has a very genius way in protecting the community. If you are rich, Islam expects you to give money first to your family members. First your own children, then you go to your brothers and sisters, and then you go to your cousins and uncles, and obviously your grandfather, grandmother, and grandchildren. So you have, if everybody gave money to his own families, then all the community will be fine. You cannot be, as a rich person, take your money, give it to somebody far away from you, while your cousins and nieces and nephews are starving. So you start, the Prophet ﷺ, ابدأ بمن تعول ثم الأقرب فالأقرب. Start with those who are dependent on you, then those who are closer to you from the relative, and then closer, then closer. So overspending could be haram. Although it's halal, it's asked in the Quran, zakah and charity and things, but overspending, to leave your children and your dependent children and your relatives poor while you are feeding people in Africa or feeding people in Asia, it's not accepted in Islam. This is what you're doing? No, you haven't got the money. Yeah?
In the Quran, there's a thing, I think it's called a khums or something. There's a given lots of money or something. Is that for everything? Does it have to be like
The Prophet ﷺ was the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jalla, ما فعل الله على رسوله من أهل القرى فلله ولرسوله وذوي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل كي لا يكون دولة بين الأغنياء منكم. When the government gets money from resources, let's say they lend, they rent states, and they find oil underground, or they have money coming from taxes or whatever, and then they have to give 1/5 to the Prophet ﷺ and his family. Fay, they call it. Not zakah, it's fay, 20%. The Shia took that as you should give it to the Are you class 1 or 2 or 3? 3. Yeah, they haven't, the bell hasn't gone. Ask them. We haven't heard the bell, have you? No. So the Shia, they said, oh, you have to give 20% of your income to the scholars. So the Shia in no time became super rich, and they took over Iran. And now they more or less took over Iraq. Because they have so much money coming. This is why they spend on fights here and fight there, fight in Syria, fight in Lebanon, fight in Yemen, fight everywhere. Because they have this 50%. But that's not overspending. That stopped because the family of the Prophet ﷺ, they're no longer identified as being in charge or identified anywhere. Because there's some 50 million descendants from the Prophet ﷺ. We are, my family, descendants from the Prophet ﷺ. So I don't go and take 20% of anybody. So summary, addiction could be to smoking, could be to fasting, to praying, to spending money. But the worst addiction is this with the red marks, because that could cause you, the addicted person, to become violent, become aggressive, to break things, to fight his own family, to steal from the shops, to fight the police, to drive, drink and drive. And drugs are the most awful one because they mostly die early. Most of the pop stars who became addicted to drinks and drugs, they died early. Michael Jackson died at 52. He was multi-millionaire, multi-billionaire, whatever, but abused drugs, died. Many of the pop stars and top, died early because of addiction. So what I want you to do, I stand 103 or 102 on your way out to Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.